First up at 5 o'clock, it's a murder case that dates back more than 5 years. An Ansonia mother killed, and her daughter is still missing.
And it didn't take those jurors long at all to find Jose Morales guilty in the beating death of his girlfriend.
As the crime of murder.
Guilty.
Jose Morales now faces up to 65 years in prison when he's sentenced in July after a jury of 6 men and 6 women finding him guilty of murder and tampering with evidence in the December 2019 death of his girlfriend, Christine Holloway. Police found Holloway's badly beaten body in the bathtub of her Ansonia apartment. The couple's 14-month-old baby girl, Vanessa, was nowhere to be found and is still missing. During the trial, Morales took to the stand, claiming he was high on PCP that weekend when 2 men burst into the apartment, killing Christine and taking off with Vanessa, later testifying he cleaned up and ditched the bloody evidence that was later recovered, a version of events the jurors clearly didn't buy after deliberating for just a little more than 2 hours. And after the verdict, at the state's request, the judge upping Jose Morales' bond to $7.5 million while he awaits his sentencing.
Considering there's no longer a presumption of innocence and the defendant has now been convicted of murder as well as tampering with physical evidence, this court is going to increase bond by $2.5 million.
Now, Morales' defense attorney says it's really academic. He couldn't make the $5 million bond while waiting for his trial. He won't make this new bond either. Now, Holloway's family didn't speak after the verdict, but her brother had something to say to the man now convicted.
December 2nd, 2019. Ansonia, Connecticut. The street was quiet. The sun had long dipped below the horizon, and in that winter stillness, the Holloway residence stood silent. Inside the house, no lights were on. No television buzzed in the background. No lullabies played from the nursery upstairs. Just silence. That silence would be broken when officers arrived for a welfare check. They expected to find a tired mother, perhaps overwhelmed. Maybe she had simply forgotten to call back. Maybe she'd taken her baby to visit family and didn't think to let anyone know. But when they stepped inside that house, everything changed. Blood. Everywhere. A woman's body, crumpled and lifeless in the bathtub. Face unrecognizable. Bones shattered. Blood soaked through her hair and trailed across the tiles. Her name was Christine Holloway. She was a 43-year-old mother. A daughter. A friend. A woman whose greatest joy was her 1-year-old baby girl, Vanessa. But in that house, there was no baby. No cries. No toys scattered on the floor. No bottles on the kitchen counter. Vanessa Morales was gone. No note. No sign of forced entry. No clear indication of where she could have been taken, or by whom. A mother, beaten to death. A baby, missing. The man closest to them, Jose Morales, claimed he hadn't been there in days. That he didn't know anything. That someone else must have come in. That maybe they were both alive when he left. Police didn't believe him. And as investigators began piecing together what happened inside that house, the story only grew more disturbing. This wasn't random. This wasn't impulsive. There were signs that had been ignored, overlooked, or dismissed for too long. Texts between Christine and Jose revealed threats, control, and a volatile relationship kept hidden from most. Neighbors would later say they heard arguing days before the murder. Some even thought they heard a scream. But nobody called for help. By the time anyone stepped inside that home, Christine was dead, and Vanessa was gone without a trace. Over the next 5 years, the search for the truth would uncover blood-stained clothes, skull fragments hidden in a garbage disposal, and a man whose shifting stories couldn't hold. Jose Morales was arrested. He was charged. And eventually, he stood trial. But even with a conviction, one question remains, one question that still haunts the community, the police, and Christine's grieving family. Where is Vanessa Morales? This is the story of a woman who begged for protection and was ignored. A mother who tried to leave, and never got the chance. And a baby, still missing to this day. You're watching the story of Jose Morales, Christine Holloway, and the little girl who vanished. Stay with us. Ansonia is a small city nestled in New Haven County, Connecticut. Quiet. Residential. The kind of place where people know their neighbors, where front yards are neatly trimmed, and children ride their bikes without fear. It isn't the sort of town you'd associate with crime scenes or national headlines. But in December 2019, that changed. Christine Holloway lived in a modest home on Myrtle Avenue. She was a loving mother, a hard-working employee at a local children's hospital, and someone friends described as kind, soft-spoken, and deeply devoted to her daughter. Her world revolved around Vanessa, the curly-haired toddler with a bright smile and wide, curious eyes. To those who knew Christine, she seemed content. She rarely shared the details of her personal life. What little she did reveal was carefully measured. She protected her daughter fiercely, and kept certain things private. Jose Morales was Vanessa's father. He and Christine weren't married. They weren't even living together at the time of her death. But their history went back years. They met through mutual friends. Christine was drawn in by his charm. At first, he was attentive, caring, even affectionate. But over time, that changed. The relationship became strained. Jose grew jealous, controlling. Text messages later recovered by investigators revealed arguments. Threats. Christine told friends she was afraid of him. She tried to pull away, to create space between him and their daughter. But Jose wasn't letting go. By late 2019, their relationship had deteriorated. Jose was no longer a fixture in Christine's day-to-day life. He had a criminal record. A history of run-ins with the law. Arrests for weapons charges. Suspicions of violent behavior. Christine had started taking precautions. Locking her doors religiously. Avoiding unnecessary confrontations. She told coworkers she wanted to move. She just needed time. A little money. A safe plan. And then, she stopped showing up to work. December 2, 2019. Christine missed her shift. That wasn't like her. She was reliable. Responsible. When she didn't return calls or messages, her coworkers grew worried. It wasn't long before the Ansonia Police Department received a request for a welfare check. Officers arrived at Christine's home late that afternoon. There were no immediate signs of forced entry. No sounds from inside. When they pushed open the door, they found a scene they would never forget. Christine's body was in the bathtub. Her skull had been fractured. There were signs of a brutal beating. Blood smeared across the walls and pooling in the tub. There was no sign of Vanessa. Officers began sweeping the home. Every room was searched. Closets. Cabinets. Under the beds. No baby. No diapers missing. No overnight bag packed. No indication that Christine had prepared to leave with her daughter. Vanessa's crib sat untouched. Her stuffed animals were still neatly arranged. The only thing missing was her. The case was immediately classified as a homicide and a child abduction. The house was sealed. Evidence technicians moved in. Photographs were taken. Blood samples collected. Every square inch of the home combed over. Neighbors were questioned. Surveillance cameras checked. Meanwhile, Christine's family was notified. Her parents, heartbroken. Her siblings, stunned. They had no idea where Vanessa could be. Christine had never expressed a plan to run. She never hinted at disappearing. And Jose. He was nowhere to be found. Detectives began searching for him. They pulled his records. His known addresses. His recent contacts. And when they finally brought him in for questioning, he had an explanation. He claimed he hadn't seen Christine since Thanksgiving. That he had dropped off some baby supplies, maybe exchanged a few words, but hadn't been inside her home. That he had nothing to do with her death. That someone else must have come in after him. But his story didn't match the evidence. Blood found in the house pointed to more than just a casual visit. And then, detectives discovered something chilling: Christine's skull fragments. Not just in the tub, but in the garbage disposal. It was clear that whoever killed her had tried to hide the brutality of the attack. Had attempted to destroy evidence. Had done something unthinkable. Yet despite all this, Vanessa was still missing. No one had seen her since the day before Christine was killed. And time was running out. The media caught wind of the case almost immediately. Local outlets first. Then regional. Then national. A mother murdered in her own home. A 1-year-old child missing without a trace. Photos of Vanessa Morales flooded television screens. Flyers papered storefronts, telephone poles, and gas stations. Her face, tiny, smiling, innocent, became the image of desperation. Police called in the FBI. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children got involved. Amber Alerts were issued. Search teams were formed. Bloodhounds brought in. They searched parks. Rivers. Empty lots. Abandoned buildings. They searched dumpsters, drainpipes, even freshly dug soil. Volunteers combed wooded areas in shifts. Officers went door to door. Nothing. Not a pacifier. Not a sock. Not a blanket. It was as though Vanessa had vanished into the air. Investigators focused their attention back on Jose Morales. His criminal history wasn't just background noise, it was relevant. Jose had once been arrested for weapons violations. He was connected to the Latin King Street gang. He was known to carry knives. And despite claiming he had nothing to hide, he refused to take a polygraph test. His phone records placed him near Christine's home the night of her murder. Surveillance cameras spotted his car nearby. When detectives examined his vehicle, they found traces of blood. And they found baby items, Vanessa's toys, clothes, hidden under the seats. Then came the biggest break: a witness came forward. A friend of Jose's told police that he had seen him days after Christine's murder. That Jose was acting strange. Fidgety. Nervous. He said Jose mentioned needing to get out of town. That he had to disappear for a while. Another witness said Jose had confided in them. He said Christine was going to take his daughter away, and that he wasn't going to let that happen. Police had enough. Jose Morales was arrested. Initially, he was charged with possession of a stun gun, a violation due to his prior felonies. But behind closed doors, prosecutors were building something larger. Something deeper. DNA confirmed that the blood in his car matched Christine. Phone data showed he made no attempt to call for help. Number 911 call. No report of Christine's condition. When asked directly about Vanessa, he looked down. He said nothing. Not even her name. In January 2020, Jose was officially named the prime suspect in Christine's murder. He was indicted later that year. The prosecution laid out the timeline. Thanksgiving weekend, 2019. Jose arrives at Christine's home. The two argue. She tells him to leave. She threatens to seek full custody. Maybe even a restraining order. The argument turns physical. Jose attacks her. The beating is savage. Prolonged. He doesn't stop until she's dead. Then, with Christine's body in the bathroom, Jose takes Vanessa. Where he takes her, no one knows. He never told investigators. He never told the court. During the trial, the jury heard graphic details of the crime. Forensic experts described the extent of Christine's injuries. Photos from the crime scene were shown. Blood-soaked tiles. Broken bones. Defensive wounds on her arms and hands. Christine fought. She tried to protect herself. She tried to survive. But she never had a chance. Family members testified to her character. Her warmth. Her fierce love for Vanessa. The courtroom was silent as her father spoke. He said no parent should ever have to bury their child. He said no grandfather should ever have to wonder if his granddaughter is alive or dead. Jose Morales never took the stand. He never explained. Never apologized. Never showed remorse. In May 2023, after days of deliberation, the jury returned a verdict, guilty of murder. He was sentenced to 60 years in prison without the possibility of parole. But even as he was led away in handcuffs, one truth remained unchanged. Vanessa was still missing. The evidence was overwhelming. But it was the details that haunted. Blood. Bone. Betrayal. Christine Holloway didn't just die, she was destroyed. The forensic pathologist who took the stand described a brutal scene. Her skull had been fractured in multiple places. Not from a single blow, but from repeated trauma. Forceful. Intentional. Relentless. Fragments of her bone had been found in the garbage disposal. It wasn't enough for her killer to silence her. He had tried to erase her. To grind her down. The jury sat in stunned silence as autopsy photos were shown. Photos that will never be made public. Photos that left even seasoned detectives shaken. One investigator, his voice barely above a whisper, testified that in all his years on the force, he had never seen anything so personal. So violent. Blood had splattered across the walls. There were smears on the floor, on the hallway doorframes. Evidence that Christine had tried to get away. She hadn't gone quickly. She had run. She had fought. She had begged. And then, just like that, she was gone. And Vanessa? Still no trace. The betrayal didn't end with the murder. Jose Morales, the man Christine once trusted. The man she shared her child with. He had promised to co-parent. Promised to be involved. Promised, at the very least, to be safe. Instead, he had stolen everything. Prosecutors revealed disturbing new details. After the murder, Morales returned to his home in New Haven. He didn't act like a man in grief. He didn't call anyone. Didn't report Christine missing. Didn't say a word. Instead, he hid. In the hours after the killing, he was seen on surveillance video buying trash bags, bleach, gloves. One camera caught him walking to a dumpster behind an apartment complex. He was carrying something wrapped in a dark blanket. When police later searched that dumpster, it was empty. Too much time had passed. Too many garbage collections. Whatever had been inside was gone. Still, detectives recovered enough. Baby clothes in his car. A stuffed animal later identified by Christine's sister as Vanessa's favorite. Tears welled in her eyes as she pointed at the photograph. That bear was always with her, she said. She wouldn't leave it behind. The theory was chilling. Jose didn't just want Christine gone. He didn't want her raising their daughter. He didn't want her in control. And so, he took both. But the betrayal ran even deeper. In the weeks leading up to the murder, Christine had been researching custody laws. She had spoken with a lawyer. She had printed out forms. Police found them in a folder on her kitchen table. Filled out. Ready to file. She had made her decision. She was going to fight for full custody. She was going to protect Vanessa. She never got the chance. The trial revealed just how cold and calculated Morales could be. He refused to cooperate with law enforcement. He never gave a single hint about Vanessa's location. When asked repeatedly by detectives, "Where is your daughter?" He would shrug. Remain silent. Or say something chilling, I don't remember. In court, his defense attorneys tried to suggest someone else might have been involved. That maybe Christine had enemies. That maybe she'd met someone online. But the jury wasn't buying it. Too many lies. Too much blood. Too much betrayal. By the time the verdict was read, the courtroom was packed. Christine's family held hands. Morales sat motionless, staring straight ahead. The foreman stood. Guilty. The sentence came down hard. 60 years. No possibility of parole. Christine's mother stood outside the courthouse afterward. Her voice cracked as she spoke. We will never stop looking for Vanessa, she said. We believe she's out there. We have to. But deep down, everyone feared the truth. That the blood on the car seat. The bear left behind. The silence from Morales. All pointed to one terrible conclusion. That Vanessa was gone too. That her fate had been sealed the same night her mother's was. The court had delivered justice for Christine. But for Vanessa, there was only emptiness. The courtroom emptied, but the story did not end. In fact, for those who loved Christine and Vanessa, it would never end. Even as Jose Morales was led away in shackles, there were no answers. Only the echo of a question that refused to fade, where is Vanessa? Christine's family searched. Still search. They distribute flyers every year on her birthday. Hang posters on telephone poles. Organize candlelight vigils in Ansonia. They speak her name into the silence, hoping that somehow, somewhere, she might still be out there. But there are no signs. No credible sightings. No confirmed evidence of her survival. What they do have is what the police uncovered, the small, silent markers of absence. The car seat, stained with blood, a pattern too small to be Christine's. The baby blanket missing from her crib, never recovered. A pacifier, found months later, wedged beneath the seat of Morales's work van. All these fragments add up to a truth too horrific to say aloud. Yet still, the family believes. Or at least, they say they do. Because believing is the only thing left. Christine had tried to leave him. Tried to build something better for her daughter. She wasn't reckless. She was deliberate. She didn't involve Morales in her dating life. She didn't provoke him. She followed court agreements. She kept peace. But something in him broke when she pulled away. That quiet need for control, masked under the guise of co-parenting, transformed into something else. Obsession. Possession. One family member recalled a moment, just days before the murder. When Morales had shown up unannounced to Christine's house. She asked him to leave. He refused. He stood in the driveway for nearly an hour. Just watching. She called her sister that night, her voice shaky. He won't let go, she said. She was right. And on that final night, Vanessa was sleeping peacefully in her room while Christine folded laundry. The television played quietly in the background. A normal night. Until it wasn't. No forced entry. No signs of a struggle at the door. Police believe she let him in. Maybe to talk. Maybe because she didn't want to cause a scene. And then, everything changed. What happened after is known only in fragments. Blood spatter. Bruising. The time of death. The cleanup attempt. Neighbors heard nothing. Vanessa, just a toddler, was likely carried out of that house, alive or otherwise, without anyone noticing. Jose Morales had taken her. And then, in a calculated move, he disappeared from view. He didn't run. He stayed local. Acted normal. Went to work. Visited friends. Laughed. Like nothing had happened. Until police arrived at his door. Even then, he gave nothing away. No panic. No emotion. Just a cold stare and one sentence. I don't know where she is. But police found his phone history. GPS pings. A trip to a wooded area on the outskirts of Derby the night after the murder. He stayed there for 27 minutes. He never went back. Police searched. Cadaver dogs combed the woods. Volunteers walked for hours. Nothing. Not a shred. Not a thread. It was as if she had vanished into the trees. Or been buried too deep to ever be found. To this day, that stretch of land holds secrets. And every so often, a new tip comes in. A false lead. A whisper. But nothing solid. Christine's sister once stood there, at the edge of the clearing, tears in her eyes. She's here, she whispered. I feel her. There are no markers. No gravestone. No resting place. Only unanswered prayers. And the man who could answer them sits in a prison cell, refusing to speak. Years have passed. But time does not heal when truth remains buried. The name Vanessa Morales lives on in posters, in databases, in the hearts of strangers who never met her but carry her story. In that space between hope and heartbreak, her family still waits. Every holiday. Every birthday. They leave a gift. They set an extra place at the table. They sing songs she loved. She would be 7 now. She would be in school. She would have lost her 2 front teeth. But instead, she is a question that echoes into every corner of their lives. Where is Vanessa? And why won't he tell them? The courtroom doors had long closed. The gavel had fallen. The cameras were gone. The headlines faded. But for Christine Holloway's family, and for anyone who had followed the case, the ending felt hollow. Because even with a conviction, the most important answer remained out of reach. Jose Morales had been sentenced to 60 years in prison. No chance of parole. The judge's words were cold, final. Christine's murder had been brutal, intentional, and unprovoked. It left a child without a mother. It destroyed a family. Morales showed no remorse. He did not cry. He did not speak. He simply stared ahead, as if the lives he shattered were irrelevant to him. Christine's sister gave a victim impact statement. Her voice trembled, but she stood tall. She spoke about Christine's warmth, her laugh, how she loved becoming a mother. She described how Vanessa's absence is a wound that never closes. A ghost that lingers in every photo, every room, every memory. She wasn't just a baby, she said. She was everything. And he took everything. The courtroom wept. Morales didn't flinch. And yet, even in the wake of justice, there was no closure. Because Vanessa is still missing. No one has been charged in her disappearance. There was not enough evidence. No confession. No body. No clear trail. Only a haunting silence. The FBI's profile of Morales suggested a methodical mind. Calculated. Patient. Capable of hiding things well. He had construction experience. He knew the land. He had time. Christine's family believes he hid Vanessa where no one would ever find her. They've said it aloud. They've said it on television, at vigils, in interviews, and most painfully, to each other in the quiet dark of a sleepless night. But hope is a strange thing. Even when the odds are stacked, even when reason says otherwise, there's a part of the heart that refuses to let go. Every year, on what would have been Vanessa's birthday, they release balloons. Pink and white. They wear shirts with her picture. They light candles. They sing. In 2021, 2 years after she vanished, her grandmother placed a teddy bear on the church steps and whispered into the wind, "Come home, baby girl. We're still looking." That same year, the Ansonia Police Department issued a renewed plea to the public. Tips still come in. Some are from psychics. Others are anonymous letters. One came from a trucker who swore he saw a child matching Vanessa's description at a rest stop in Nebraska. That lead, like so many others, went nowhere. Still, law enforcement has never closed her case. Posters of her face hang in police stations across the country. She's in the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children's database. Age-progressed images show what she might look like today. Christine's former neighbors now organize safety campaigns and parenting support groups. Her story became a rallying cry for domestic violence awareness, especially in cases where control doesn't always look like bruises or shouting. Sometimes, it's quieter. Sometimes, it wears the mask of civility. Of co-parenting. Of, I just want to see my kid. Morales used that mask until the very end. Until it was too late. Ansonia changed after Christine's murder. A small town that once felt safe now holds its breath a little tighter. Parents hold their children closer. Strangers look a bit longer at missing persons posters. They remember the night the helicopters came. The night the news vans parked outside their schools. The night a child disappeared and never came back. In interviews, detectives still call it the most haunting case of their careers. One of them said, "It's not just what he did. It's what he refuses to undo. Every day he stays silent, that's another day Vanessa's out there. Somewhere. Or nowhere." The family has not held a funeral. They refuse. As long as there's no proof, there's still a chance. Christine is gone. But Vanessa is missing. And missing means maybe. Maybe alive. Maybe waiting. Maybe saved by someone who took her in. Maybe. And even if that maybe hurts, even if it feels impossible, it's all they have left. So they search. They post. They pray. They ask the same question, again and again. Where is Vanessa Morales? And why won't the only person who knows, tell them? The shocking and tragic events in this case serve as a reminder of the dark side of human nature, where betrayal and hidden secrets can lead to devastating outcomes. If you or someone you know is dealing with dangerous relationships or suspicious activity, don't hesitate to reach out for help. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and make sure to subscribe for more true crime stories. And remember, justice will always find its way, even through the most twisted of mysteries.